movie like reviews. B-movie like reviews. B-movie like reviews. Hey, this is B-Movie Mike, and this week in honor of Friday, July 13th, I will be reviewing Friday the 13th Part 5, 6, 7, and 8. First up, we have 1985's Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Friday the 13th Part 5 was directed by Danny Steinman and stars Melanie Kinnaman, John Shepard, and Shavar Ross. Instead of doing a regular style review of this film, I'm just going to give you my opinion of it. Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning starts out promisingly enough. We got Corey Feldman reprising his role as Tommy Jarvis, standing at Jason's grave in a rainstorm. And I remember as I was watching it in the movie theater, I was thinking to myself, this is really cool. They're going to take off right after Part 4, just like Part 4 took over right after Part 3. But no, that's not what we get. Soon it's revealed to be a dream sequence, and we're now 10 years in the future, and Tommy is on his way to a halfway house after being released from a mental institution. Unfortunately for Tommy, he's still haunted by the memory of Jason, and has frequent hallucinations starring the man himself. And to make matters worse for Tommy, not long after he arrives at the halfway house, a fat kid is butchered in an incident involving a candy bar. Then things go from bad to worse when Jason shows up and starts killing off Tommy's hapless housemates. This of course sets up the thrilling fight-to-the-death rematch between Tommy and Jason. Of course, Tommy saves the day and comes out victorious and puts Jason down for the final time. Again. Well, kind of. Except Tommy was pretty much a non-factor in the killing of Jason, and Jason turned out to be not even Jason, but Roy, the ambulance driver, who turns out to be the father of the fat kid who was butchered in the candy bar incident. Who would have thunk? Even though, as you can probably tell, I was one of the Friday the 13th fans that was a little disappointed in Friday the 13th Part 5. But now, having gotten over the whole fake Jason thing years ago, I have acquired a new appreciation of this film. It has great secondary characters, some decent kills, a whole lot of TNA, and a really dark sense of humor that I just love. I could recommend this to anybody who loves cheesy slasher films from the 80s, and if for some reason you have never seen this film, please do yourself a favor and check out Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. It's a fun film that definitely warrants repeated viewings. Alright, moving on. Up next is 1986's Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6. Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6 was directed by Tom McLoughlin and stars Tom Matthews, Jennifer Cooke, and David Kagan. The story of Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6 is basically the conclusion of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. In this film, Tommy's all grown up, but he's still haunted by the memory of Jason. So he travels with a friend to the graveyard where Jason's buried so that he can dig Jason up and see the body for himself and once and for all put an end to the nightmares. After he sees Jason's body, he kind of freaks out and grabs a fence post and stabs him several times. Unfortunately, lightning from an approaching storm strikes the fence pole, reanimating Jason, causing him to crawl out of his grave and kill Tommy's friend. Tommy then goes to the local police and tries to explain what happened. They think he's still crazy, so they just lock him up. Fortunately for Tommy, the sheriff's daughter has a thing for bad boys and thinks he's cute. So she breaks him out of jail and volunteers to help him hunt down Jason. Jason, however, has already begun his bloody rampage, stalking and killing everybody in the area. This forces Tommy to come up with a desperate and dangerous plan to lure Jason back to the lake and return him to his original watery grave. Friday the 13th Part 6 features good direction, good acting, good atmosphere, and a great soundtrack by Alice Cooper. And in my opinion, Jason Lives Friday the 13th Part 6 is the last of the really good Friday the 13th sequels. Having said that, I will have to admit that it's not without its faults. For one, the story is a mess. 2, for the first time in Friday the 13th franchise history, there's no nudity. And 3, the kills are pretty tame, thanks to those assholes who work for the MPAA. Even though this film does have its flaws, it's still very entertaining, and I would have no problem recommending it to anybody. Like I said earlier, I consider this film to be the last really good Friday the 13th film, and it's all downhill from here. Having said that, it's time to move on, and up next is 1988's Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. Friday the 13th Part 7 was directed by John Carl Buecher and stars Susan Blue, Lar Park Lincoln, and Terry Kaiser. The story of Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood centers around a teenage girl named Tina Shepard. Her mother and doctor have decided to take her out of the mental institution she's been staying in and bring her back to her childhood home on Crystal Lake. Unfortunately for Tina, her doctor's really not trying to help her. He's discovered that she has telekinetic powers, so he's trying to exploit her instead. Then one night in a fit of rage, Tina accidentally unchains Jason and releases him from his watery grave. Of course, the bloodbath begins once again as Jason kills everybody he can get his hands on. This leads to the Carrie vs. Jason showdown, where telekinetic Tina takes on undead Jason, and she tries to use her powers to put Jason down one final time. Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, is unfortunately not a very good film. The main reason I say this is because the story is completely terrible. I realized that this was originally intended to be Freddy vs. Jason, and that would have been really cool because it was the perfect time to do it. Unfortunately, Paramount and New Line couldn't agree on how to do it, so instead we got Carrie vs. Jason. And if that wasn't bad enough, they tacked on an asinine subplot about Tina's father and packed this film full of annoying characters. Having said all that, there are a few things that I actually did like about this movie. One is that I felt the director actually did try to make an interesting film. The atmosphere and setting were good, but unfortunately the story's asinine subplots and annoying characters ultimately weighed this film down and prevented him from succeeding. The second thing I like about this film is Kane Hodder's debut as Jason. Kane's portrayal of Jason in this film is the glue that holds it together, and ultimately is the only thing that really makes it watchable. And the third thing that I liked about this film were the kills. But unfortunately, the MPAA heavily trimmed this film again, and the kills lost a lot of their impact, but I still think they're pretty cool. In conclusion, I can recommend that you check out Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, but I just can't highly recommend it. And finally, this brings me to the last film, the last of the original Paramount 8, 1989's Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Friday the 13th Part 8 was directed by Rob Hedden, and stars Jensen Daggett, Todd Caldecott, and Kane Hodder. Friday the 13th Part 8 starts out with a young couple making out on a boat that's anchored in Crystal Lake. As luck would have it, their anchor cuts open an underwater power line, releasing electricity into the water. The electricity then reanimates Jason's dead body, who just so happens to be floating nearby. Soon after his reanimation, he boards the boat and kills the couple. Soon, the boat Jason has commandeered meets up with a cruise ship full of gifted students who are about to embark on a field trip to New York City. Of course, Jason stows away on the cruise ship and soon begins to kill everyone on board. Once the ship finally reaches New York, the survivors quickly exit the ship and enter New York with Jason in hot pursuit. Just when they think they've made it to safety, the situation for our survivors goes from bad to worse when they are separated after having a conflict with a violent street gang. This, of course, allows Jason to catch up to them and start killing them off one by one. This, of course, leads to the final girl's final confrontation with Jason in the sewers below the city. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is definitely my least favorite of the original 8 Paramount films, and it comes pretty close to being my least favorite film of the entire series. The reason I dislike this movie so much is because of the story. It is so poorly conceived and badly written that not even Kane Hodder's performance of Jason can save this turkey. The characters are annoying and uninteresting, the kills are lame, and in my opinion it holds the distinction for featuring the worst ending ever conceived for a Friday the 13th film. Due to the fact that this film is super cheesy, I can understand how some people might even consider this film to be entertaining. But due to its insultingly bad ending, I cannot allow myself to give it a positive recommendation. Well, this concludes my reviews of Friday the 13th Part 5, 6, 7, and 8. Please feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think. And I hope that everybody has a fun and safe Friday the 13th. As always, please check out all the awesome YouTube channels located in my featured channels list, and I'll be back next week with another review. Thanks for watching.